Hello and welcome to another episode of the Agency Leadership Podcast. I'm Chip Griffin.
And I'm Ginny Dietrich.
And Ginny, I think I'm just going to use some AI to spew out all sorts of spam for these episodes so that we're not even part of it anymore. We're just going to contribute to this atmosphere of junk content that's proliferating these days.
I mean, as we're recording this, the Chicago Sun-Times got in trouble for publishing a summer reading list made up of real authors, but fake books. And their excuse was, we hired a freelancer to create this. So I was like, oh, that's akin to saying the intern messed up. You still, especially as a newspaper, have to verify that it's accurate. So yeah, the list of books was all made up books that AI had generated for them, and they didn't check it. And then other newspapers picked it up and ran it too. So there's something to be said for AI is great for some things, but it still needs human oversight.
It not only needs human oversight, but I think that, one of the things that we lose as we start to try to create mountains of content using AI is we start losing individual perspective, personality, those kinds of things that can help set us apart as agencies and can help set our clients apart. Because if we're totally dependent upon AI, obviously hallucinations continue to be
Right.
an issue, right? And
Yes.
and can absolutely cause problems. There are legitimate fears over inadvertent plagiarism on the part of AI and those sorts of things, and those are all important. But I think so much more important is that you start to lose the voice of the agency, the voice of the client, if you rely too heavily on AI. And I think everybody who listens to us knows that we are fans of the use of
Right.
AI
Yes.
in the work that we do, and we should find ways to leverage it in order to be more efficient and all of those kinds of things. But that's not saying that you should just contribute to this mountain of content that people are committed to putting out right now, whether it's on LinkedIn, right? We see all this AI generated garbage on LinkedIn. Although,
Yes.
just for the record, all these people who post these dumb things about if you have an M dash, it's AI generated. That is hooey.
I agree, because I use the M-dash, right?
Forever.
Forever, right. I use it too.
I have not once ever used AI to produce even a portion of my LinkedIn content because it's not. I use AI for all sorts of stuff. My LinkedIn content is not a place where I feel like I need to do it. I feel like I can write, a 5 or 6 paragraph post all on my own. Thanks.
All by
very much.
yourself?
All by myself.
Well, at the same time that this is happening, and I completely agree with you that AI can make us more efficient, but I think that we're overusing it, is the Wall Street Journal published an article called "Will AI Empower the PR Industry or Create Endless Seas of Spam?" which is always awesome to read. But it goes on to say that a pitch from March stood out from the flood of usual emails from PR agencies that had an unusual subject line. It was, "You care more about Tesla than a cancer killing thousands." The email went on to scold US-based reporters for giving priority to Tesla earnings news and celebrity gossip over the work of a German firm that develops tests for cancer. And then it rattled off statistics about increasing cancer rates and stated, quote, "This isn't a future problem. It's happening right now, but you wouldn't know because you've been covering crap that doesn't matter. Do better." All written by AI. Now, if you're using AI to craft your pitches and make you more efficient, that's fine. If you're using AI to help you personalize to the person you're pitching, that's fine. But for the love of God, have some oversight. Do you really think do better in an email scolding reporters is a good idea?
I mean, there may be a time and place for that kind of messaging, but I would want that to be incredibly deliberate and not put that in the hands of computers to figure out when to do that. And in general,
Right?
I would advise against it. But I mean, I could probably see if you had a relationship with a reporter, maybe you would take a similar tone, maybe not identical, but you might, there are certainly reporters I've known over the years that I could be pretty blunt with. And I have in the past said to them, I don't know why you would write about that particular
But
story
that's
that
like
you
a
just covered.
one-on-one thing, right? That's not
Correct.
a
Correct.
pitch that you send to all reporters.
No.
Yes.
Well, I also don't believe in sending
Fair.
broad-based pitches. I believe in
Yes.
one-on-one pitching, and I know that that is not a popular thing amongst many in the
But
PR
it's
community.
far more effective.
It is far more effective. It does require more effort.
It does.
But I think that you owe it to yourselves and to your clients to do it that way instead of building these large lists and just blasting stuff out. I think that was certainly true 20 years ago. I believe it's even more true
Absolutely.
today.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I would rather send a targeted pitch to 3 people
Yep.
than an untargeted pitch to 3,000.
Because
And-
if
and
you
I-
send a targeted pitch to 3 people, you'll probably get 3 responses and maybe even 2 or 3 placements. If you send it to 3,000, guess what? The Wall Street Journal does an article about how much the PR industry sucks, and we're contributing to the sea of spam. That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I think, part of the challenge is that agencies and clients are hearing from the gurus that, in order to be relevant to AI, we need to be churning out more and more content, right, to help train the algorithms and all of that sort of thing. And so the solution that people see is, okay, well, if we're going to have to create this much content, we're going to have to use AI to do it, which first of all creates this ridiculous cycle where AI is essentially feeding itself.
Right? Yes.
I mean, and then, I mean, basically that's sort of like intellectual inbreeding. And, who knows what you end up with as a result of those genetic mutations.
Right.
But, more importantly,
Intellectual
I think
inbreeding.
I think that we, if nobody else has used that, I'm taking that one.
That's amazing.
So we need to be thinking about how we're putting things out there that AI can consume that really represents who we are, how we think, and do the same for our clients, because that's where we're going to have the most power and influence. It's not by putting out stuff that's the same as everybody else. It's just a different byline. And I think that this is getting lost. And if we're just churning stuff out because we think that's the only way to win the future battle of AI search, we're mistaken.
Yeah, 100%. So 2.5 years ago, Google came out and elaborated on their EEAT, which is experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And what it's essentially said was, if you can demonstrate experience and expertise in your content that builds authority and demonstrates trust, we're going to rank you in search, right? So you're going to go up higher in search results. Then on May 21st, they published an article or blog post that essentially said, this is how we're training our generative AI. So if you're not demonstrating your organization's experience and expertise, you're not going to rank. You're not going to show up in generative AI search, which is what's now at the top of search rankings, right? On the search page. So first of all, from a communications perspective, this makes me happy because this is what comms pros should be doing anyway, regardless of the tools that are available or anything. We're building reputation, we're building trust, we're building authority, we're building credibility, and we're doing that through our storytelling. So it gives us a leg up. It gives PR pros a leg up for sure. But you can use AI to generate a draft of copy for sure. It's where you add your experience and expertise that's going to help. It's the stories that you can tell about your subject matter experts, your employees, your organization. It's the case studies. It's the testimonials. It's the pieces that you should pull in that make it make the content different than anybody else, because now that signals not only to the human beings that are consuming it, but to the Google algorithms, to the search algorithms, and to generative search as well, that this, you have something different than anybody else. And experience and expertise will always be different than your competition. So it gives you a competitive advantage every single time. Let AI help you draft it, and then add in your experience and expertise. That's where you'll win every time.
Yeah, and I think we also need to remember that for most of us in the content that we're creating, either for ourselves or for clients, we would be better off not focusing on search algorithms and keywords.
Right. Correct.
And how to convince the AI to incorporate our stuff. And instead think about, are we putting out quality content
That's right.
that really speaks to our target audience? And I think even more importantly, are we creating content that helps us build a relationship with
That's right.
our target audience? Because I think that one of the things that we are learning here is that as good as we might be at tricking AI into capturing our content, or in the past, convincing the algorithms or whatever, at the end of the day, it's having that tight network of people that that are fans of our content and what we're putting out, that can help us to grow our businesses and can help our clients to grow. Now, there are exceptions, and if you're a huge global brand, a lot of that advice doesn't really apply in the same way, because you're just trying to reach so many people. But the vast majority of us, for ourselves and for the clients we work with, have a much tighter target. And so if we're thinking about how we can build those relationships with our content, I mean, think about this. If you are listening to us, we are building a relationship with you. Even if this is the first time you've listened to this podcast, have we used AI to help us with topics in the past? Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
It absolutely helps inform what we do. We've used AI to generate a whole list of potential topics. Today's was not one of them, but it certainly could be. And that it makes sense. But we're creating the content, we're offering our own opinions, we're doing it in our own voices, and it allows us to build a relationship with you, the listener. You need to be thinking about how you can do the same with your written content, your audio content, your video content. If you do that, you will win no matter what happens, no matter how AI changes, no matter how the search engines change. And I've always said, if you focus on the algorithms, you're going to have to constantly change everything you're doing. It's like playing whack-a-mole. But if you focus on creating that good content for your target audience in a relationship building way, you will win no matter what.
So this reminds me of when I started speaking, probably in 2008-ish. I had a really good friend who spent most of his career doing keynote speeches. So that was his career, is speaking. And he said to me, when you speak, you want to tell stories in a way that will allow the listener or the attendee to put themselves in the client's shoes. So when you talk about like the peso model, for instance, which didn't exist back then, but let's just use that as an example. If you talk about the peso model, for instance, you talk about it from the perspective of when we worked with a client, they thought they were using the peso model, but what we found is they just were using tactics from each media type. And when we worked with them, we demonstrated the value of integration and creating the multiplier effect. And you demonstrate your expertise through those client stories, because now the person listening goes, oh gosh, we have that same challenge. I bet I should call her and see if her agency can help. And so I started doing this, and he was right, of course, because, now people go, oh, we have that same challenge. I bet she can help. Same thing with your content. If you're doing that and you're telling the stories and you're helping people see how you've helped other organizations that are like the organization that you're talking about, suddenly they see themselves in that same space and go, oh, they can help me with this. They've done it before. And not only does it do that, but it also trains the LLMs and the algorithms to understand that this is your core expertise. And you can do this for clients too, but this is your core expertise. Now we're going to push them up in search rankings. So focus on the humans first, demonstrate that expertise and experience that you have through your storytelling, and you'll win on search as well.
Yeah, and that idea of making your content relatable to your target audience, it's really hard, at least for today, for the AI to do for you. It may well come in the future, and it is getting better, particularly if you use the same platform for a
Yep.
lot of your content,
Yep.
because the memory is getting better. And
Yep.
so if you provide it with up to, it gives you a draft, you give it the final draft, it will remember that. And so it has gotten, in my experience, pretty good at recapturing some of the stuff that you said 3 or 4 months ago
Right.
and bringing it back in. That will help over time, but it's really hard for it to, out of whole cloth to come up with relatable content that really speaks to your audience based on your experiences with clients or your own experiences yourself, because it has no way of knowing that.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
So one of
unless you
the
are already a public figure who has shared everything about your life, it's
it wouldn't know.
unlikely that
Yeah.
it's going to know all those
Yep.
details. And even then, there's probably stuff, that you could share that's not out there, even if you are, president of the United States or CEO of a Fortune 10 company or something like that.
Absolutely. One of the things that we do is we throw in case studies and testimonials and things into the project knowledge center, so it knows. And I'll say, hey, can you find me a case study on X that will help me tell this? And then it just reminds me, you've got this, or you can talk to that. Another thing that we've done is, for a client, we do a quarterly NPS survey for them. And part of that NPS survey are open-ended comments. We export that into a CSV file, throw that into their GPT that we created for them, and have it build the testimonials and case studies from that for us. And so it takes, you're right, it starts to learn, and it takes all of the information that you've done, but still, it needs the human oversight. Like, you can't just be like, it's still going to hallucinate. It's still going to make, I remember a couple weeks ago, it was like, here's a case study for you. And I'm like, that never happened. That sounds like a great case study, but we literally never did that. So you still have to review it. You still have to make sure that it's not fibbing, that it's telling the truth.
Yeah, and I mean, there are ways that you can, as we've talked about in the past, where you can leverage the AI to make things easier for you. Examples like you gave. I love using it for summarizing other things
Yep.
that I've done.
Yep.
Even then, though, to your point, you got to review it, because, for example, if I ask AI to summarize this episode, I guarantee, because we go off on different little tangents,
Right.
it will not craft that summary in the exact right way. And I've seen it on some of the episodes we've done, and the AI summary is just way off base, particularly because we start with usually a tangent of some kind, because I'm
Right.
trying to be
Yeah.
witty
Yeah.
and failing. And, it causes it to think that that's actually a key point, when in fact it has
Right.
nothing to do
Yeah.
with anything whatsoever. Just
Yeah,
our
yeah.
amusement.
I think it definitely needs oversight. I think let the Chicago Sun-Times be your example. Let this pitch of where they sent it to thousands of reporters telling them to do better, let that be your example of, it absolutely can make you more efficient. It absolutely is a huge, huge help. It still needs to be fact-checked. It still needs oversight. It still needs to be approved.
And if you're going to be in an arms race, at least build missiles that work.
Yes.
So there you go. Food for thought.
That is definitely food for thought.
On that note, I think we'll draw this episode to a close before we really confuse the AI. I'm Chip Griffin.
I'm Ginny Dietrich.
And it depends.